Hello and welcome to This One Thing, a daily video devotional coming to you from First Presbyterian Church of Fort Lauderdale. And together we'll be looking at one text and choosing one thing for you to consider. And we hope that you find this a thought-provoking, encouraging part of your day. I'm preparing to preach this Sunday, and the process of writing a sermon for me is a gut-wrenching one. It's challenging. I do the work of pulling apart the text, of asking questions and reading commentaries, looking at the language or the historical context, and in all of that, trying to discern the message. And there are many times in the midst of that process where I feel stuck. And then, in what often seems like just a moment, connections begin to happen, and what was once drudgery becomes a flurry of joy as the sermon begins to take shape, and time just sort of flies by, and the joy of those moments, work, becomes, not work. What are those tasks for you, or those activities where you find yourself lost and in the work, you lose sense of time? Where do you find that joy? Today's passage from Matthew 20 talks about work. And in there, Jesus says, "For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. And after agreeing with the laborers for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. And when he went out about 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And he said to them, 'You also go into the vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right.' And so they went too. He went out again about noon, and about 3 o'clock he did the same. And about 5 o'clock he went out and found others standing around, and he said to them, 'Why are you standing here idle all day?' And they said to him, 'Because no one has hired us.' He said to them, 'You also go into the vineyard.' And when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his manager, 'Call the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and then going to the first.' Now, when those hired at about 5 o'clock came, each of them received the usual daily wage. Now, when the first came, they thought they would receive more. But each of them also received the usual daily wage. And when they received it, they grumbled against the vineyard owner, saying, 'These last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat.' But the vineyard owner, he replied to one of them. He said, 'Friend, I'm doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last the same as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or are you envious because I am generous?' And so the last will be first, and the first will be last." This parable in Matthew's gospel is interpreted by some to be a warning, actually, to the disciples, saying that just because you've been with me doesn't mean that you are more special, or that you will get different treatment than those that will come to follow later. I remember reading this parable when I was younger, thinking how unfair this was. How could it be right for those hired at 5 o'clock to be given the same as were hired in the morning. I was offended, so to speak, by the generosity of the owner. As I consider it now, though, I find myself asking different questions. What if part of the reward is in the work itself? What if, when we are doing the right work, it can be, well, not work? Going back to the story for a moment, here in verses 6 and 7, he says, "Why are you standing there all day?" And they said to him, "Because no one has hired us." No one has hired us. But there were presumably others doing some hiring, right? There was other work. There were other jobs. There were other vineyards hiring that day, other than that of the generous vineyard owner. The one thing for the day is not to ask, why are you not working? But rather, whose vineyard are you tending? What is the master of your morning, noon, and night? Because my guess is that you have one, but there is only one generous vineyard owner. Who do you work for? Be safe. Be well. We'll see you tomorrow.